Hey, Improv Gangsters. So Matt here with some news and insights. Class this Saturday, and we have a special guest coach. James Heaney is coaching. And James has a long time been associated with the West Side Comedy Theater. He was on their traveling Mission Improbable team, and I believe the home team as well, where they're going around the country performing short form improvisation in front of audiences of all types all over the place. And he also was on a team called Bear Supply. And it's one of the better improv teams and shows I've ever seen. These guys are lights out. So they perform actually this July 24th, next Wednesday at the West Side Comedy Theater. They perform monthly there, 9 o'clock. And they, like I said, they're amazing. And they're certainly worth watching. And it's inspiring because if you watch an experienced improv team like this, you really can get a glimpse of where you can get to. And I want to make a remark on that to beginning and intermediate students. And I really feel that the intermediate level of the improv journey is the hardest part. Yes, the beginning is terrifying and we brace ourselves for walking into the unknown and the uncertain. And, improv is a culture shock because we're kind of asked to overcome so many psychological hurdles, our huge inner critic, our huge egos, all that sort of stuff. But once we get through that and we continue the training, we understand what's being asked of us. But for me, that period was so uncomfortable, let's say the year 1 to year 3, because as an artist, I really didn't know what I was doing. Now, I often use the musical instrument analogy. If you're learning how to play a musical instrument, you could lock yourself in your room for a few years, get good at it, and then come out and do a recital. That's not the way improv works. Improv is we're always in a public domain and arena with people, and so the capacity for embarrassment, shame, humiliation, and all that stuff is great. Fear of public speaking, etc. So we get through that initial culture shock. We're in the intermediate phase, and again, year 1 through 3 for me, I still felt like I had no idea what I was going to do. I had built up some techniques and some skills, and I had ideas, and I'd walk into a scene to, with a number of ideas, but rarely could I bring the whole scene home or know how to play it throughout. And I oftentimes ended up making the mistakes that most amateur improvisers make, which are, crazy, silly things, dumb things that don't make sense. And to tip all that off, I'm 3.5 years in, and I had hit the improv road pretty hard. I went through 2 programs. I was on 2 teams. I took a bunch of a la carte classes, and I also had a number of private improv groups that I would play with. So I was hitting it pretty hard. I'm 3.5 years in a drop-in class at the West Side Comedy Theater, and I froze on stage. I'm doing a scene with another player, and I froze. I literally was like, I don't know what to do here. And it was pretty shocking to me. Now here's what's interesting. I left that class, and I shook that whole thing off in about 5 minutes. And I was in the car going, oh, next time I would do this. So pretty rational way of processing it. But that wasn't how I had been doing it the first couple years. The first couple years when I was improvising in a show or even in rehearsal, if I made bad decisions and I humiliated and embarrassed myself, there were sometimes I would lose sleep over it. I would be so upset, cringing, losing sleep, so my ego and inner critic and judgment were massive. And so even though I'm making this really bizarre kind of humiliating mistake 3.5 years in, the way I processed it and handled it was really quite remarkable. And I credit the improv journey for that, the way I responded to it. So it wasn't long after that, getting into year 4, where I really started to not judge my work, and almost consummate with that, synonymous or whatever with the lack of judgment. My improv skills, being in the moment, being spontaneous, having fun. That was another big thing. I wasn't really having fun the first 3 years of improv. It was just cringing and nervous. And then it started to become fun for me. I stopped locking up. And so I shout out to you, intermediate players. It's darkest before the dawn, and it is a matter of repetitions and continuing with the art form, and things will start to click in. There's no way of like just reading a bunch of books and doing a bunch of writing or any of that sort of stuff to kind of get you there. It is a matter of continuing the training, living your life, and eventually you will start to become very, very comfortable in the improv context. So that's my thought for the week. Come take James' class on Saturday. I will catch you guys actually in a couple weeks, but we have class every Saturday, so we'll catch you guys soon. Later.